And I remember throughout this last summer and just through these moments of grief and just things that were happening, it's like, I'm just not going to tell any story about this pain. I'm just going to literally experience it and trust that there's a vision through it that will pull me into whatever the next thing is. And that was so triumphant for me, because how many times do we push away pain, or do we need the pain to automatically have a reason? And now it's just a sign that I'm loving as deeply as I can.
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about.
I am a Yeti. No, am I a Yeti? Sorry, I misgendered you. I am a Hydro Flask.
You owe news. I'm the new kid in town.
Dude, look how old news this water bottle.
Yeah, this
is fucking me hiking and it rolling down mountains and me refusing to buy a new one.
This is me hiking once a year with you. Literally with you. This is me taking my yearly walk with you.
That's actually true.
It's accurate.
It's funny because it's so true. I made you go on a hike last
I
week.
didn't even go fake it. We're fine. I'm content with who I am.
I know. I love that about you. I love that about you. I am so good with who I am. Fuck you and your hiking. I will go.
Gucci. I will always go, but I will never create the plan. Like, if we're making plans, it's up to me. We are not going hiking.
And if you know
you're hiking, I'll go.
If you know you're hanging out with me, it's like we're going hiking.
I know we're gonna walk. We're gonna do something active, which is great. I love it.
I can't believe it's been a year since we last recorded. We were just talking before we press record that so much of life has freaking happened.
Everything's different.
Everything is different.
It's wild, but so good.
We were talking about how we were like had tech issues, you know. Thank God we have a studio. We got
now
John
we can
here
just
now.
Pull up.
Now we can just pull up and talk.
This is my ideal situation.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I love it. It's like a year later. Exactly. And we didn't even plan that. So it's perfect.
It's wild.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite moment in the last year? Like if you can double click into a moment that made you feel alive, aligned, energized. You're like, this is the freaking tits. What was that moment?
Probably, well, there's a whole bunch of memories with friendships. That's been such a big part of this year, is just recommitting and being the best friend and best partner that I can be to my sisters, my queens, the women in my life. But I decided to take a solo trip to Vancouver Island this
Shout
summer.
out, hometown. Let's go.
Man. And
I love it. I love that you went there.
It was amazing. And all the roads were closed. And like everything pointed to you shouldn't go.
Yeah.
And everything pointed to like, this is going to be deeply inconvenient. Everything pointed to like, this is going to be a pain in the ass. And I ended up going anyway. I just felt a strong pull of like, I'm going to go anyways. And I remember being on these logging roads in a Jeep Wrangler by myself, no service, a map in my lap. Like I'm sweating
like
bullets,
a paper map?
Like a paper map.
Shit.
He was like, follow this red line. And I was like, okay. And you're just really relying on like the logging roads signs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was terrified, but I was like, I am alive. Like, this is everything. I can't use my phone. I can't get, all my comforts are gone. I just have to rely on this car, God, and where I said I'm going to go. And
Jesus,
it was
take
so
the wheel.
fun. Like, Jesus literally took the wheel. Like, when I finally got on flat road, I just said, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I was very concerned at some points. And at the same time, that whole trip, the theme was our fear will talk us out of some amazing shit. Like just weird things, like walking down a trail and not sure if I should go right because I'm worried about a bear or something. And then I get down there and I'm like, gosh, I have a private beach to myself. I would have missed out on this if I would have listened to that. So I just being by myself and relying on what I know and letting the rest be a mystery was so much fun. It was like the best trip ever.
It's interesting because I know you. Obviously, beyond just this podcast.
Hey, just really quick. We know each other.
Hey, real quick, guys. We were in the same yoga class this morning, actually. Except you didn't know I was there. I was just creeping on you.
That's how connected we are.
I was creeping on you. I was like, what's up, girl?
What's up, baby?
But mystery's been a theme for you this year. It's like this relationship to uncertainty, this relationship to mystery. And I love this so much. Because I believe in the blank slate, we can decide in advance how we want it to go. Like sometimes uncertainty or mystery for a lot of people is like, that's scary. Like that. Yeah. And so we create certainty because we're afraid of the mystery. But can you go a little bit deeper into that? Because I've just seen you create such a masterpiece out of mystery in the last 12 months, which has been so amazing. So maybe share a little bit about that.
I feel I read this in my devotional recently, and it said that God designed things for us to enjoy them, not understand them.
I love that so much.
And when we rely on our own understanding, we don't create any space for mystery. We need everything to be understood. And I realized as I was just rebuilding my life and going into a new era, a new chapter of just discovering who I am and how I wanted things to go or how I saw things going or what God was showing me, that I wasn't going to understand every piece of it. And I could still enjoy it. And if I could commit to enjoying it and really enjoying the mystery, then I could fall in love with becoming unrecognizable. And that was my biggest fear. My biggest fear was being alone, not knowing what was going to happen next. And conquering both those fears has created such a just stream of freedom in my body to say yes to what I actually want now. Because I don't think you'll ever know what you want until you become okay with the mystery. Because you're only ever going to vision based off of what you can perceive and control at that one point in time. So I remember just committing to myself and saying, if I can feel it all, then I can have it all.
Oh, that's so good.
And that way
so
I can be
good.
sad, I could be this, and none of it means anything besides that I'm in it, I'm having it, I'm experiencing it, I'm enjoying it. So that's just been such a big lesson of what am I committing to? I'm committed to enjoying this. And that doesn't mean I have to understand it. It just gets to work.
And at the end of the day, all it is a sensation. All we're running away from is literally just a sensation in the body.
I know.
That's it.
I know.
So it's like if we can come face to face with that sensation and feel through the pain and feel through the potential misery or whatever it is, the suffering, the pain, whatever it is, and still have that part of us online that's like, hey, you're not that, but you get to feel through that. And there's the duality of the experience of feeling that, plus this part of us that is in witness of all of it. It softens it. It doesn't make it any easier, but it softens it.
And that's the biggest thing. You just said it. It doesn't make it easier. And in a world that glamorizes ease, there's a mantra that I live by, which is let it be hard. Like, let it be hard. Let it be so hard that it becomes good, that it becomes something so much more rich and textured than you would have had if you just needed it to be easy. So that's such a good point, because I think once we let go of this need for it to be easy, then we can again enter into enjoyment and the process of that sensation. And I think that's one of the biggest flexes of life. If you can hold multiple sensations at a time, you will go so far in life. Because sensation is a sign of vitality. It's a sign of the vehicle is running. It is on. And I'm more afraid to not feel at this point than I am of feeling
100%.
other things.
100%. I love that. It's like the energetic duality of I can actually experience pain and pleasure simultaneously in this moment. I can experience joy and pain simultaneously. And it's all happening simultaneously. Like life is so beautiful and so tragic at the same time.
It's so
always
true. I was just in an astrology reading with my good friend Colin, and I said, can I tell you something? The minute I realize I really love someone, the first thing I think of is, I'm going to be so sad when they die.
Aww.
And that's my Scorpio, my sensitive Scorpio. But I'm like, is that normal to think? And he's like, and he said something so powerful. Dr. Michael Beckwith quoted this, and Colin told me this. He was like, a quote that he loves is pain pushes and vision pulls. And it dropped me into this understanding that our pain is a part of so much of the love and the expansion that we experience. But I think in our self-development world, we've been so obsessed with turning pain into purpose that it's kind of broken us out of actually experiencing it just from the organic template that it is. And I remember throughout this last summer and just through these moments of grief and just things that were happening, it's like, I'm just not going to tell any story about this pain. I'm just going to literally experience it and trust that there's a vision through it that will pull me into whatever the next thing is. And that was so triumphant for me, because how many times do we push away pain, or do we need the pain to automatically have a reason? And now it's just a sign that I'm loving as deeply as I can. And it's a sign that I'm able to really intimately go there with someone to the point where I would care if they left. Like, I would be sad. And now that doesn't mean anything besides that, it doesn't really have any power over me.
It's so good. It's so good. There's such a richness there to be able to feel the entire range of the human experience.
Yeah.
I remember in my eating disorder days and body image days where my emotional capacity was so limited. Like I didn't get super happy and I also didn't get super sad. It was just like, it was very, it just stayed within this capacity. And now my range of emotions, I just had Eric on the podcast and he was like saying how emotional I am.
He's like, oh,
he's like, that bitch is crazy.
She can go for all of it all. But how cool is that?
Yeah, like the range is so high. And the difference is like when I am going through the pain, it's like there's a beautiful quote that says what's coming is going. And so it's like as I'm feeling the rage or feeling the sadness, it's like I'm permissioning and I'm allowing it to really roll through my body. And there's a part of me that's like, okay, we're processing, we're letting go. And a lot of this pain that you're experiencing is not even yours. You've taken it on. It's archaic. It's lineage. It's ancestral. It's collective. It's whatever. But it's here. And if it's here, we get to feel through it all the way through. So yeah.
It's just such, I mean, and Krista had such a beautiful reflection of you that you're so in touch with the pulse of life and the aliveness. And I think that's a testament to the way you feel and the way that you experience so many ranges of emotions without identifying as that emotion. It just gives you full permission to come alive. And there's no longer any of these contingencies and old contracts of when this is happening, I can only do this. And when this is happening, I can only do that.
Yeah.
Like, I just refuse to live within that box.
Yeah. It's so limiting.
It's so limiting.
And it stops our creativity and our joy and our like witnessing the arising of life in every single moment. Like you asked me before we started recording, like what does can't be contained mean to me?
Yeah.
And I loved answering that because it really is this witnessing the aliveness and the energy moment by moment, the juiciness, the creativity, the ability to use these vessels as vessels of creativity, whether that's through voice or through like tangible arts. It's like we cannot be contained in our ability to freely express and freely bring our creative essence to the world and truly transform the world. And not in the name of like, I'm going to change the world, but like, I'm going to be fully uncontained from me.
Yeah.
So that the energy of that changes the world.
Yes.
And I think there's such a misfire in that in the personal development industry that I see. It's like we are serving at the cost of us, or we're doing it for impact. Like there's a lot of like impact slated over just capitalism.
It's true.
And it's like if we just have fun and we just allow our essence to shine and we just do it in a way that feels so fucking good, you're going to make bank and you're going to do it in a way that feels so alive and so good.
Oh my God, there's so much to say about that.
Can of worms.
No. Well, no, it's so freaking true. Here's the truth though, that I see. Let me say that. I always say here's the truth as if it's like the truth. That's my fixed, like, this is the truth. But what I found is that people actually don't give a shit about changing the world. Like if I were to really ask you, like, yes, on some subconscious level, we want to make impact and change, but that's not the core reason why we're doing any of this. Like God is going to change the world through us.
Yes.
And if we are so gung-ho on it has to be like this way and me here and me here, I think again, like you just said, that's where we can be almost, it's like a sacrifice that I don't think we have to be in. And one thing that switched for me this year is really allowing my mission to benefit me first. Because if it doesn't benefit me first, then it's never going to benefit anyone else. And that's what I thought of when you said, the energy that comes alive is what's changing the world, not necessarily me. Because there's going to be days where I'm out. Yeah. And I'm going to be, doing something else. And that creative legacy still gets to live and that energy still gets to live. But I've become so much less obsessed with changing the world and more about, God, how can I pave the path for you? Like, how can I pave the path for you? How can I continuously steward your word, continuously steward your resources, continuously steward the voice and the gifts that you've delivered me? And how can I continuously receive them? Because that's the core of that's going to hold everything together. And I remember standing in my kitchen one day, just feeling disconnected from everything. And God whispered in my ear, where are you at with receiving my gifts for you? It's like, where are you at? because I'm over here looking at this gift and that person's gift. And I'm like, okay, well, that gift looks like it's doing that impact. So I'm going to do that mixed with this versus like, what is the gift that God has casted through you? And where are you at with receiving that? Before you go to change the world, like ask yourself that question.
What was the answer? I'm curious.
I was like, you know what? I feel a little checked right now by God. No, I did. I was like,
checkmate.
Oh, I literally started crying. I was like, because what that had me do was confront the part of me that didn't feel chosen, that didn't feel like I was chosen for any specific gifts. And that it showed me where I was distracted, showed me where I was still seeking. It showed me where I was leaving the altar to go get something and think I need to bring it back to be worthy of whatever the next thing is. So those conversations with God always expose where we're just subtly needing to be corrected. And I think if we could be humble enough to listen and then pause and really be with whatever answer we're getting or reflection we're getting, that's when evolution can really work for us versus against us.
I find as well in my own experience, the gifts that I have are the things that are just so natural to me. So my ego just goes, well, who needs that?
Exactly.
You know, it's like, I'm like, well, for me, it's like speaking on stage or just speaking, like using my voice as a vessel for transformation. It's like, I could do this shit all day. I could sit here all day and just do my thing.
And that's what you're supposed to do.
And that's what I'm supposed to do.
But it's true. It's like, well, it has to come with more struggle. It has to come with more pain. I have to have a justification.
100%.
And that's where I think we can get back in that pain loop of like pain to purpose. Like I have to build something back up to make this other thing happen.
100%. The things that I do that are the easiest, the most fun, they have the most impact. I attract the most wealth doing those things. But my ego is like, oh, it's not good enough. You got to do it something. It's got to be a little bit more. And so that's been like a beautiful journey over the last couple of years of like, no, this is what it is, and this is what I get to do, and I just get to own that.
Yes,
but it's wild.
It's vulnerable to own what's natural to you though, because that's where I've found there can be projection, and we almost will create this story of like, here's my gift, but here's all the things I had to do to get it. Then, okay, when I serve it, don't judge me. Don't, come at me.
Yeah.
And it's very subtle. Like we don't even realize we're doing it versus just, I've been really practicing just saying out loud, like, I'm really good at business.
Yeah.
I'm really good at money. Don't know why. Don't need to know why. And I'm just going to go with it. And it's just created so much more fluidity in the way that I'm serving. And then the people who are agitated by that can handle their experience, but I don't have to keep creating problems as a justification to be more big in my purpose.
So good. There's also this interesting relationship with being a high achiever. It's like, if I get over things, then I'm doing good. Right? Let me get over this. Or let me get over this struggle. It's a struggle. Oh, and then on the other side, it's like the constant, and it can keep us in that loop of always trying. And then what I realized that I was doing a couple of years ago is I would create problems in my business to get over them so that I felt like I accomplished something.
Oh yeah, all the time.
It's like
every Q2 and Q4. Like I could see it in my P&L statement. I'm like, interesting.
Look at her go. Here's she goes.
May 20 through 2023. Looks like you got the interesting. Okay. It's wild that we do that, but it's really the part of us that wants to remain relatable, that wants to remain part of the collective, because there is pain in the collective. There's so much that is hard to look at, and it's heartbreaking when you look at the whole scope of like everything. And then there's also at the same time so much hope, so much potential, so much beauty, so much creativity happening. And I think that as entrepreneurs, we've raised our hand for one of the most challenging roles, which is to take some of the biggest risks and to put ourselves out there in the most vulnerable ways, and to see both, but stay focused on wherever God's taking us. It's like, can you see both and then stay focused on the direction that God is taking you? That's the practice every day for me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like, you said it a couple of times, but it's the slowing down, the pausing, and actually listening. And that's been such a beautiful practice of mine of what are you doing with me? Where are we going?
Yeah.
What's happening? What's going on? What would be in your highest good? Because like my ego mind, like we're clever, we're quick, we're like, we could do this and then this and then this, but it's not in the highest good. It comes from it'll come from a place of just busyness and hustle and achievement for the sake of achievement, and not actually being the deepest service that we could possibly give. And in my experience, I realized like the deepest contributions that I have don't have that energy of go, push, force, hustle.
They don't.
There's just this isness.
Yes, it's seamless.
Yeah.
And I feel like as an entrepreneur, people want that all the time. And it's not always going to be like that all the time. So they're afraid of the space, because the space might mean no money, or the space might mean no recognition, like whatever we're associating that space with. I think it's important to not confuse space with emptiness.
Double click into that.
So like if you're looking at space as emptiness, and you're probably going to keep filling it with the next thing, versus like even after this House of We launch, there's this temptation to just jump right into the next thing. Yeah. But I can feel the tempo in my body is like, hang on a second. There's something brewing. I can feel it in my body, like this brewing. I'm like, all right. But if I was confusing this spaciousness with, okay, it's empty, things are stopping, things are pausing, and I wasn't much like your entrepreneurial, like this mature energy comes through. You just become more mature. I don't know how to put it.
No,
You're like, wait, that's not emptiness. That's actually me being a really good business person and taking a beat, studying my numbers, what just happened, what worked, what didn't work.
Totally.
And then you have to listen for the call. Our leadership lives in our listening. And who is leading you? What is leading you? If it's just the achievement, then it's going to take you into some exhausting spaces. But if you can really trust the tempo and the ebb and the flow of entrepreneurship, which isn't always going to be this seamless creation that's always ecstatic and crazy and blissful all the time, then I feel like the quality of our work goes up, the quality of our leadership goes up, the quality of our voice, what we bring to the world. It all increases.
The quality of our nervous system.
Yes.
My results in my business used to be so tied to my worth and my nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a real rough roller coaster. Like when I ran Hungry for Happiness, it's like if we had a good month, I was doing good. If we were in the shitter, I was not doing good. And one of the most important lessons that I learned was to just remove it all. And it was so fucking scary, because there's this energy when your identity is tied to your results. It's not the right energy, but it's like real powerful, right?
Yeah.
And so unmerging from that and going like, I am who I am, and I am worthy, and I am lovable, and I am me, and then that is that. And those two things they're not telling a story of each other.
Yeah.
That was a huge shift.
That's massive. And that I think people want to know how you do that. And that just comes with time.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's, for me at least, like I remember feeling that way too. Like if the numbers were doing something, I was doing something.
Yeah.
The numbers weren't doing, and that there just comes a time where you're not so focused on every micro movement.
Yeah.
You just know how to read the zoomed out vision more.
100%.
You know, 5-6 years in, I'm like, I could have never predicted really any of this. And if that one setback, if I was so focused on that one setback, I would have missed this whole, it was actually setting up this whole other thing. It comes with just maturing your business brain and knowing how to regulate your energy, how to read what's actually happening in your business. My emotions really don't have much to do with my business at all.
Yeah.
I don't mix the two. I really allow my wealth identity to hold my humanity. And
go more into that one.
I feel like in our journey with money in particular, the human in us is going to have, I use money attachment style, which is based off of the attachment theory. Our human's going to have all kinds of responses and attachments and different emotional exchanges with money. But our wealth identity is really rooted in the understanding that I am of worth. I'm not even worthy. I am of it. I'm made from the fabric of it. And we stop chasing that enoughness when we recognize that we are chosen. When you recognize you're chosen, there's no room to even ask, am I enough? It's like, I'm chosen. Okay, that's it, period. And when I really dug into that and embodied that, that is big enough to hold my humanity, the human that's going to be sad sometimes or experience all kinds of different things. And when I expect my human, which is of flesh and is naturally flawed and sometimes inadequate and sometimes not always seeing things clearly, when I expect that human to carry everything and I don't allow God to provide these other templates of responsibility and these other parts of myself to come alive, I actually drop the vision. But I decided a long time ago that I'm chosen. So I get to let the vision hold me. I get to let the wealth identity hold me, and I relax into that. And my human is going to evolve, and she will continue to develop. She will continue to grow. But she's not necessarily the one that's moving everything.
That is so big.
It was a huge shift.
There's like a settling that happens with that context.
Yeah. My whole life, with my whole relationship with money, my whole business just completely changed and everything clicked into place. And it's like the volume in my ears went up. I could finally get what people meant when they said, listen, hear. You know, it's a tempo that just kind of comes alive in you.
And chosen by
God.
God. So what's your relationship to God like?
I look away from you because I'm like, don't ask me, I'm going to start crying. My favorite worship song says, I thought it was over, I thought it was done, but you always have the last word, and the last word is love. And they're speaking about God, and that's how I feel in my relationship with God. There's been so many times where I thought it was over, so many times where I thought
like
he was done.
Your life was over.
Life was over, the money was running out, the relationship was ending, or just that it was done, like run out of luck. I'm out. Like maybe this was a fluke, or like, you know, I don't care how far along you are in business. I know that we all have those moments of like,
100%.
maybe this was like literally luck.
Dude, I have those fleeting thoughts and I'm like, that's an interesting thought.
Interesting.
Like, you've been lucky for 12 years.
I know. And then finally it clicked of like, but God always has the last word.
I love that.
And that last word's always been love. And it's because he loves me. And then when you realize that you have been chosen and that there is a plan for you, that you have been like chosen and positioned here, that if you're alive, then God's not done yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else. Like, there's no other confidence than that. Like, that's the biggest confidence. So I feel like my relationship with God and what God means to me is I trust my life with God. I trust everything because of that relationship and the foundation that it offers me.
A lot of people say, I trust universe, or thank you, universe. Talk to me about your decision to go God versus universe.
I just felt it in prayer. I remember God saying, hey, just so you know, I created the universe. Like, literally, that's what I went down.
By the way, bitch.
By the way, if you're going to pray, we're going to pray to me. Like, no, but that's true. And
so good. Good.
Again, God is a corrective God. My God is an exposing God. And that is where like everything's going to get exposed. And I just got to see, I was like, yeah, why did I start using universe? And it was out of fear. It was out of fear of using the word God. And I was like, okay. And then I also saw everybody else was doing it and adding source and angels and the long list of things to just make sure no one in the room got offended. And I was like, I don't really, everything just, the spiritual Olympics just got too complicated for me.
Yeah.
And I just was like, God created the universe and God is the creator of me and my life. And I'm just going to pray to my creator and pray with my creator. And then I just publicly shared it because I felt in the collective that there was a lot of people that wanted to restore their relationship with God. And when I started to use the word God, ironically, I became closer and got to just intimately understand who God is and the different lessons and blueprints that God has left for us. And I would have missed that if I kept avoiding the name, like the truth for me. And so many people were just really relieved and thankful and grateful, but I was really nervous. I was scared.
How did you say it?
I just posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
I said, here's why I'm no longer replacing the word God with universe. I don't feel a foundation in the universe. We're in a flawed world.
Yeah.
And we're not from here. we're not. We're positioned here.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have any interest in praying to a star. I rather pray to who created the star.
Yeah. I love that so much. I've shared this with you a little bit, but it's the first time that I'm sharing it on the podcast. But I grew up super Christian, like Sunday school, church, we would pray before every single meal. We would do devotional before we went to school. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
And then when I was 18, I was tasting some of the distortion in the church. And I was like, I want nothing to do with that. So I left everything. I left the good and the bad in that decision. And I was like basically an atheist for many, many years, where I was like, I'm doing this on my own, And then a couple years after that is when I found breathwork. And I was like, oh, wait a second. Like, this is so powerful.
Yes.
And I'm feeling through this practice the things that I felt when I was praying and I was connected to God and I was doing daily devotionals with my mom before school. But I'm not being ruled by the church or the structure or the rigidity or the greed or the pressure.
Yeah.
And so I felt this freedom in that. And then recently, like very recently, I can feel myself deepening into God again.
Yeah.
And it's been this thing. Eric goes, where did that all, he's like, I'm stoked for you, but like, how'd that come to be? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I just don't know. And I was talking to our mutual friend, Peter Kelly, the other day, and she's like, there's so many people being called back to God right now.
It's so beautiful.
It's crazy.
It's so beautiful. And so many people have that story.
Yeah.
I have a similar story. I feel like the breath, it's so powerful that you reconnected through the breath, because the breath to me represents the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, dude.
It's our first lesson in faith, believing in the unseen. And you'll hear through worship songs and through the gospel how God is actually communicating through the breath and utilizing the body. And so it's just, again, back to that worship song. I thought it was done. I thought I knew, and you had the last word, and the last word was love.
Yeah.
And you felt it through breath work. I mean, that's not by accident.
Yeah.
It's just so beautiful.
Yeah. And now whenever my awareness like attunes to God, I just get full body chills.
Yes.
And so I'm in this phase right now of just witnessing the unfolding of it all.
Yeah.
And recommitting myself to truth.
Yes.
And that's been such an interesting homecoming, and one I never I didn't wake up one day and go, I'm gonna do that. It was like
Neither did I.
It was like a week of, I can't make this shit up, day after day after day after day after day after day after day. These crazy experiences were happening, and I'm like journaling about it, and I'm sitting and I'm going, wow. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna really start praying again. And I could just feel like the truth bumps with every prayer, with every word, with every point of awareness go, oh, there's a stability here. There's a ground here.
Yeah.
Because the new age, there's so many beautiful things about new age, right? There is, like, in my opinion, there's beauty there, but there's also so much distortion, like with anything. But there's an interesting confusion there of like, what are we focused on, and what are we worshiping, and what really has our back, and what is the universe?
I know.
Right. And so for me, God is this stable figure, this stable relationship that is the ground of it all.
Yeah.
And so through this exploration, I'm like, there's so much of my childhood that is coming back, and the things that like really felt so stable and beautiful and good that I'm remembering.
That's so beautiful. I just acknowledge you so much, because I think that it takes a lot of trust and patience to, let the message unfold and to not judge it and to talk to your partner about it. Like, there's so much that comes with opening up your relationship with God. It's not just, okay, I'm back. Like I said, it's exposing. Your relationships change. The conversations you have change. The way you see the world changes.
For sure.
My business changed. And not a lot of people are willing to let go enough for things to potentially be rearranged once you come back into covenant with your creator, God. And that was the biggest thing for me, was letting go of some of what I believed in and what I was worshiping or what I was spending my time in, which is some of our greatest currency. Like, how many times was I hovered over oracle cards and just trying to find the answer before I made the move. That was really the loop that I was in. So I don't think there's anything necessarily inherently evil about an oracle card deck. Okay. Like, they're beautiful. But again, we were talking about this on our hike of, but what's your intention? What are you seeking? And have you really consulted and sat in prayer and praised and just been in relationship with your creator? Because that's going to automatically change the energy that you bring to those different practices.
For sure.
And you're going to come at it from such a more empowering lens. And that's what I see within New Age, if I'm just being honest. And I see it in the church too, because there's like two sides of the same extreme. There's just desperation and a lot of lost energy.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily reconnect with God through the church. I reconnected through prayer and breath, like you're talking about. Very simple, basic, primal, in a little room. I was like, whoa, goosebumps.
Yeah.
Haven't felt that ever.
Yeah.
What was that? And then saw this, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm sure you can't either. It's just a love I have never felt before. And I was like, I want more of that.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was in the beginning of a relationship. I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I can't wait to tell everybody about this person.
Yeah.
But obviously it's, you know, more of an energy. And so, yeah, it's gorgeous.
There's been this interesting shift that I'm noticing is when I grew up in the Christian church and going to church with my parents and everything, it was almost like, here, I am this human and God is out there somewhere in the ethers and he says he loves me, but like, I don't know where the heck he is.
Yeah.
And the shift that I'm experiencing on this discovery and on this journey is this whole concept of like God embodied, like feeling the flow of God in my body, in my heart, in my womb, in my awareness. Like there's this undeniable presence when I tap in and I connect. I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
It's not off in some foreign land. It's like right here in abundance.
That's such a powerful visual.
It's just like, oh, it's within and all around. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
not separate from total inclusion.
Well, and that's part of the narrative that keeps people in such a punishment versus reward relationship with God, which is a false matrix. And one thing that I discovered, and this could be controversial, and I want whoever's listening to like not take this necessarily literally, but see it all the way through. What I've found as I've deepened my relationship with God is, yes, on like a fundamental level, the kingdom is within us. It's within our hearts and will continue to be illuminated as we, like you said, embody the presence and we continue to allow God in. But I found that if we automatically assume that God is within us, it can lead to like a lukewarm faith of like, and we see that a lot in the church, or we'll see that in, I've seen it within the collective of, well, God's got it, or God's going to do it, or this, you know, God's got my back, which is so true. And we have to remember that part of the covenant is allowing God in through our free will. So God isn't automatically just within us. It's, am I practicing? Am I opening? Am I dilating? Am I receiving God? And that's what's actually going to allow God to continue to become bigger in you, and then your ego becomes smaller. You become nothing and God becomes everything. And not everybody's willing to make that trade.
And why not?
Because your entire identity shatters.
Yeah.
Everything you think you are, all the self-development bumper stickers of you are enough, you are this, you are that. It's like, I'm not enough. Not without God. And like, not everybody's ego wants to say that. There's so much religious trauma and so much still choking their faith that it hurts to admit that. They don't want to be weak. But I've truly found that in my weakness, God is the strongest and I can submit. It's okay for me to submit. I'm actually not giving up anything. I'm gaining everything. That's like the deeper shift. And that didn't come until like 3-4 years after my first encounter, because I was just high on the fact that like, woo, we back.
Way back.
And then God's like, okay, how much are you going to submit? How much of my life, how much of your life can I have? How much of your thoughts, how much of your everything that you think you own, how much can I have so that I can move through you? So that's where we're seeing a lot of people right now is they're in the empty chapter. They're emptying out all the old stuff. so that God can become bigger, so that God can fill. And that is, for some people, like an excruciating or very humble process. And then for others, it feels easeful, and they're like, take it, like forget it, you know? I think everybody's different. But what I encourage anyone listening, or if you're just curious, know that God benefits from our belief. That's how powerful we are.
Yeah.
It's not just what can I benefit from God. Like, we have to remember that God actually benefits from us opening and allowing him to access us. And when we live in a reality of like, it's just automatically going to happen, we can sometimes plateau and flatline
For sure.
in our faith.
So what is the catalyst to continually expanding our ability to receive and go down that path of deepening our relationship to him?
Praise and worship, prayer, each day, not just running to ask God a question, but saying thank you, and being in the gratitude that God knows exactly how to metabolize everything through you, and that you have quite literally been designed to create and bring things into form. Yeah. And so praise attunes us to being able to hold God's power. So I often remind myself, I'm not here to hold power. I'm here to serve God's power. And God's power is intense. It's a lot. And if the bones of your alignment are shaky, you're not going to be able to hold it. Yeah. You'll drop it and you'll give it to something else. So I think prayer, gratitude, attunement, and worship, that's what keeps us in the relationship and the agreement and in the circulation with him.
I listen to these morning motivations on YouTube.
I love it for you.
Sometimes they're like super like masculine, like
I love getting screamed up.
You know?
It's like get up and do it. And don't ask anything. Seek the Lord. No play.
I was walking down the street and one of the quotes on this motivation thing was, what if the only things you had today were the things you thanked God for yesterday?
Ooh.
Right?
That's what I'm talking about. That's submission. No, that's submission.
Yeah.
That's truly submitting and trusting that you're going to be good. You're going to be there is more, but that's it right there.
Yeah.
I
was
good.
like full body goosebumps.
Whoever
oh my goodness.
Gets it. Yes.
Yeah. I wish I know who said it. It was like one of those ones where it's just random voices. I'm like, I don't know whose voice that was, but like,
I wonder if one
you.
of our voices will end up on those. Like, what if one day it's like, because we said some stuff.
Breathe in, breathe out. Oh, there's Sam again. Just telling the world to breathe. There we go.
I love that.
Oh my gosh. It was so good. It was so good. But tell me about your new relationship to gratitude, how that's different from before.
Oh, that's such a good starting point, because I used to think that gratitude was like, write a list of things that I'm thankful for that I already have. And I realized that list was really out of guilt. It was like, okay, before I ask for anything else, let me just make sure God knows that I'm thankful, you know? And it's that sneaky freaking story. And I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I obviously am grateful for everything and I'm appreciative of everything. So there's appreciation of what you currently have. But what I discovered is that gratitude is like a tuning fork. It actually dilates and prepares our nervous system and our body for what God is going to bring. So when I'm practicing gratitude now, I'm praying into all the visions that God has shown me. And gratitude is an encounter with God's vision for me.
Oh, that's so
Gratitude
good.
puts me in contact with my desires. And my desires aren't dirty. They're not wrong. They're not too much. They're what God has shown me He sees in me.
Yeah.
And I often remind my clients, you don't see yourself accurately. If I could see myself through the eyes of God, I feel like everything would just be different.
Yeah,
and I pray
100%.
for that all the time. Like, help me see myself the way you see me.
That's a beautiful prayer.
Because you have something in store for me. You're seeing something for me that my human isn't quite able to see. So that's the miracle of the mind. That's the miracle. Of course, the miracle talks about that. The miracle of perception. And I believe that gratitude can attune us to what's coming. So by the time it comes, we've already been receptive
Primed.
of it.
We're ready to go
for it.
Yeah.
So my gratitude's just turned into, when I get a vision, I speak it. I see myself on the beaches of Portugal and he's holding my hand and it's just the most beautiful day. And I'm just so grateful, God, for this vision, for helping me see what I could have in a relationship. And even though it's not here yet, I don't need that to trust you. And I love you and thank you. So it's just been that, like at the kitchen sink or walking around.
I love that
and it's just
so
felt
much.
so good to just not need it to be so dogmatic and list and this and make sure. And like God's waiting for me to fuck up and punish me and take something away.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, it's all here, babe. Yeah. It's all here. So speak it.
I find when I do gratitude lists, it feels very, what's the word? It's like, it's just dry. I'm like, I'm grateful for this. I'm great. So I've kind of stopped doing the list.
And no offense to list, but I have too. I'm
not really into the listful thing, but it's like embodied gratitude.
Yeah. Just being a thankful, faithful person.
Like letting it be your resting position.
Yes. That's where I'm trying to shift. I'm like, I just want this to be my go-to state.
Yeah, dude.
Like
thankful, grateful, appreciative. Just it's joyful.
And you can still have off days or you could even be mad about something, but
no bad days, don't you see?
Oh my God. I mean,
dumb.
Literally,
so dumb.
I'm like, well, that's impossible. Even with my car right now, my beautiful G-Wagon, which is my dream car, but good Lord, Mercedes, they are just
rinsing you.
You know, I thought I did the thing, and then there's like a whole nother thing, and so I'm getting frustrated. I'm feeling like I made a mistake potentially. Was this a good decision? Like this does not feel, I'm not safe. Like I just went story.
Yeah.
Wanted to cuss out the financial department. Why they sell me this car like this? Like blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then I heard God say, just hang on a second. I'm trying to correct you. I'm trying to get you to see something. And this is making me emotional because this is very energetic. And this is where our relationship with God shows up in the subtle layers first before physically. Yeah. But if we're so focused on it physically, then we'll miss these subtle layers. And I know how much space my G-Wagon takes up. It was such a big purchase and such a monumental moment in my business. It was a big milestone to be able to purchase my own car after like filing bankruptcy and not even be able to get like a loan with Honda. Yeah. So it was like that car represents so much of like, you did it. Yeah. As a woman of color, driving a G-Wagon in the middle of Encinitas, like, you did it, baby. And it's been 2 years. And I feel God say, like, it might be time to let this go and let the king of your life, the man that I have prepared for you, come fill that space and come really show you that there's other things. And I know it seems silly because it's just a car, but the symbolism, and God will speak through analogy and symbolism. And I'm like, you're right. This is actually a weight that I don't maybe need to carry right now. Yeah. And I can't wait for my man to go with me to the car dealership. Not that I'm not capable. Yeah. But it is certainly helpful to have that provider masculine energy with you as you're doing these bigger things. And just all these different pieces started to come into place of like, maybe this is actually a good thing. And yes, it's coming with a financial cost, but I already know the return. God always comes with a return. Oh, for sure. And so I'm like, I'm just going to do this. I'm not cussing anybody out. I'm going to really just feel
cussing anybody out.
I'm going to feel into this. This is correcting something. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to listen. I don't need to make any sudden moves, but I do think I'm going to probably I'll report back. I think I'm probably going to sell the car. And I see myself purchasing one in the future, but it's going to be different. I'm proud of myself for the risk I took. It did what it needed to do. Yeah. And all of that would have never happened if I was just pissed and focused on what was being taken from me versus showing up as if there's always more on the table for me.
The subtleties, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's such richness and intelligence in the subtleties.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like the obvious layer of life, like the things that we see and feel and hear. It's like that obvious layer. But what's the conversation underneath the conversation?
Yes.
That's happening 24/7.
I know.
And in my experience, the more embodied I get, the more I can hear that. Like you put it beautifully. Something about, I forget how you said it, but it's like the more that the quieter I got, the more that I heard, or something got louder. God got louder, the quieter that I got. You said something that I was like, yeah, that, whatever that was.
I trust it.
Rewind. Whatever that was. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that whisper is actually so loud in the stillness.
It's so true. And that's where I feel, that's why prayer is so important, because And some people are showing up to prayer begging for something, which I encourage us to pray into versus for something. That's a really beautiful shift. It's like pray into something as if it is already on the table, as if it's a version of it already exists for you. It might be different once God fully, circulates it through your life. But when we are constantly showing up in this like for, take, need, that desperation, it literally pulls the energy
You know
down.
that Jelly Roll song that's like, I only talk to God when I need a favor. Anyways, reminded me of that.
Know that. Like, cue the tape and play that right now.
John, can you play that Jelly Roll song?
Oh my God. No, but that is how you'll end up in like just feeling, just not feeling.
It's lack mentality.
Yeah. It's just not where you're supposed to be. So I shifted it and I'm now praying into, which increases my listening. Because my whole nervous system is relaxed. I'm not showing up to this relationship as if I'm this awful human. And there's going to be moments where, yes, you feel like a piece of shit. And you're like, God, I'm feeling like a big old, I made some big mistakes, But we pray into the thing that we're seeing. We pray into what we see for our life, even if it's a sliver of something. And then we listen for what God reflects back to us. That's the part so many people miss. We just show up, we talk, and then we leave. And it's like, wait, stay after the exhale and listen. And just see what God reflects back to you.
And it's so obvious.
And you just become more and more and more attuned to God's voice versus the noise of the world.
Because the noise, that flew by.
What the freak?
What the freakity freak. I know. We could go till 12 at
We
night.
could go till the sun come up.
Okay, let me take one more sip and then I'll finish the 5 minutes, John.
You literally can do whatever you want. You're Sam Skelly. Like, first of all, you have the name Sam Skelly. I mean, you're destined. Like, just get out the way, world.
Move, bitch. Get out of the way.
Just move.
Dude, that Jelly Roll song, though?
No, I really hope that you play it for them.
Oh, my God, I will. Can we slice that into that episode? Okay, we got it. It's like, what's the other one? I only talk to God when I need a favor. No, 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 no.
Who sings it?
Some dude. I found him on the Joe Rogan show. Ask me why I listen to Joe Rogan. It's because Eric makes me on road trips, okay?
Listen, everybody's got their piece.
Oh,
I loved his interview with Rick Rubin. I will say that.
Oh, it was so good.
That was good.
I like the way he interviews. It's so broy and down to earth, and no frills.
And like you can't deny skill.
Yeah.
So say what you will, but
say what you will.
You can't deny skill. You can't deny talent. It just it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's my spiel. I mean, people want to argue about stuff. I'm like, yeah, all that's true, and you can't deny talent.
Yeah,
you can't deny skill. You can't deny like genius when it's operating in that way. So yeah,
I love it. I love finding people's unique genius.
It's my favorite thing.
It's so magnetic,
and it's so fun to watch somebody in their genius because. Well, how I look at it is like, yes, I'm creative, but God is so creative.
Yeah.
God is such a genius. And when you're just fully open to like letting it circulate through, there's nothing more satisfying than like watching somebody in it.
And that's how okay, so I love this. I love the conversation of God and creativity.
It's the best.
It's like when we just allow ourselves to be vessels, we are ultimately going to create things on this planet that have never been created before. Like so many people are busy looking on Instagram, finding inspiration. Don't find inspiration on Instagram. You're not going to find it. Find it from opening up your system, getting really like empty your system, get super open and allow the love, God, life to flow through you. Like that's where the best shit is made.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
Perfectionism is what kills the creativity. There's so many artists that will die with their music still in them because of perfection. Perfectionism almost killed my business. It can kill your spirit because you're operating within such a confined space and you need it to look a certain way because you've made it about yourself. And that's why I don't know how we can separate God and business because it's all, at the end, I don't need the credit. The credit is God circulated through me because of something that I didn't even see for myself. I couldn't fully perceive for myself.
Yeah.
And I was in full trust of the whatever it is that wanted to come through. Those are, like you were talking about earlier, those are the best projects. When God's hands are all over it and you leave with goosebumps and you're like, I don't know how I had the energy. I don't know how I had the idea, the time. It just
boom
happened.
It just happened.
It just happened.
I felt that way about pause when I came in.
I was going to ask you, well, like
Yeah.
what in your career have you felt that like so strong, undeniable?
The original idea of pause came in like a freaking energetic freight train. I could not deny it. I was driving from LA back to San Diego, and it was when I was coming out of my hungry for happiness phase of like, there's something else that is being birthed through me, and I could feel it, but I don't know what it was. And I just shut the music off, put my hands on the wheel, and I was like, God, what is the next thing?
Wow.
And he was like, you need to teach the world to breathe. It's called pause breathwork.
Well, and that name is so unique.
It was so clear, and it was as if someone was sitting beside me. Like, that's how clear and crisp the transmission was. And then for weeks after that, I was woken up every single morning, night, 3:14 oddly in the morning, and just wrote and 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 like channeled this entire thing. It just came through me so clear. And I'm like, there it is.
There it is.
And that energy has been the pulse and the heartbeat of the company since day one.
That's
it's
beautiful.
So divinely. And so I get to really take a step back and like be with myself when I get activated to not interfere with the plan.
Yep.
And that's work.
Yep. That's discipline.
Oh, dude, that takes so much. It takes discipline and it takes devotion to the mission.
Yes.
Because I can so easily fuck the whole thing up.
Yep.
With my ego, with my
overcomplication, needing it to go faster, my coping strategies, whatever it is. It's so easy. You know, the reason why businesses fail is not because it's the wrong marketing strategy or the wrong funnel. It's like the energetics and psychology and the lack of trust of the founder, I believe. Yep. It all goes back to that because as the founder, as the CEO, you're the one holding the core vision, and a lot of the visions that God gives us are going to be long-term visions. They're going to be casted out over a long period of time. And if you need everything to happen right now and you're not willing to enjoy the ride, like we were talking about earlier, and see each step through as a stepping stone and set up for something that you probably can't even imagine right now. Like I often say, there's a version of you right now that never dreamed you would dream this dream.
Yeah.
Like, did you even dream that, you probably dreamed that pause was going to hit the amount of people that it does halfway through the original dream.
Yeah.
And then you were at a new peak and you could see, whoa, I can see that peak now. But at the bottom, I could never see that peak.
Yeah, no way.
The mission was just get it off the ground.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you see, and so it just becomes so, I just feel so much love in my heart because entrepreneurship and leadership and all these things we're talking about, they become so much more fun with God. It's the greatest adventure you will ever go on, trusting your creator who's actually orchestrating so much on your behalf and has so many plans that you aren't even dreaming right now.
Yeah.
Like that is what's so exciting to me. It's like, wait a second, it's all good.
Yeah, it's literally all good.
It's gonna be
we
okay.
just get to enjoy the ride.
It's all done. Yeah,
it's
and participate and say yes. Like you could have gotten that idea, talked about it to 17 people, which dims it down, and then never really moved on it in the original, I call it your original assignment. You know when it's your original assignment.
Oh, dude, it was so clear. It was like, all right. I was like, I got it. Let's go.
Click, boom,
boom, boom, boom, boom,
ching,
boom, boom.
Ching, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. Like it takes over.
I literally felt like that. I'm like, I just feel like I'm being moved right now and I'm doing things and things are happening and I'm not even questioning it. Like I was completely out of the way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, and it moves me to tears how much I love it. Yeah. Like I said to Eric when he was on the podcast, I'm like, I would do it for free. I love it so much. It's like my favorite thing in the whole world. It feels so good. It makes me come alive in so many ways.
That's how I feel about Wealth Embodiment Flow.
Dude.
It's the best. I remember somebody asking me if you could do one thing every day. I'm like, teach Wealth Embodiment Flow. Be in the house of we. And I would do it for free. And here's the thing I also heard God say, you're allowed to be compensated for my gifts.
Yeah.
You're just allowed.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be separate at all. And I think what's so beautiful about both of our journeys is we've been willing to make mistakes. It's been so imperfect, and I've been willing to fail and mess it up, have really hard conversations, hire the wrong people, fire the wrong people, bring new people in. Like there's been so many different decisions and ups and downs. And when you trust the larger mission, you're more willing to play
100%
in that more.
100%.
When you don't trust the mission, I think we can get back in that perfectionist of, okay, I don't really trust this, so the stakes are really high and 100%. I cannot mess this up.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've loved this conversation.
Me too,
I just
Queen.
love all my moments with you. You're just so fun. I love you so much.
We've come together at such a special time. It's like knowing somebody's in the field and then God puts you together at the perfect time. That's how I feel with our friendship.
Yeah, dude. And it's just so beautiful and just loving. Whenever we see each other, it's just like, and we're back.
Yeah.
I appreciate that
Haven't
so
missed
much.
a beat.
Yeah.
So
Where
good.
can we all find you?
At I am Victoria Washington on IG. And then the House of We is all money, wealth, embodiment, and all that good stuff.
So good.
Yeah.
What's the website for that?
www.thehouseofwe.com.
Thehouseofwe.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you for having me, Queen.
You're
I love
welcome.
you.